so we now know that outdoor gatherings are safer than indoor ones, which means if you're planning on getting married during COVID, an outdoor wedding is likely what you're aiming for. But it's important to remember that with outdoor weddings come additional logistics and planning things to think through. So today we're talking about the outdoor wedding. And what you need to keep in mind as you're planning your outdoor wedding, especially during COVID. Hi there, I'm Jamie Chang, your destination wedding planning guru and designer of joy at Mango Muse Events, the creator of Passport to Joy, the step-by-step online wedding planning course for couples, and the founder of Let's I Do This, virtual, hybrid, and intimate weddings in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I share real and honest and useful wedding planning tips, tricks, and advice you can use to help make planning your wedding easier and more joyful so you can create a wedding you love. Because let's face it, wedding planning isn't always easy. In fact, it can be downright painful, and nobody wants that. So we're bringing the joy back to wedding planning. Are you ready? All right, so let's do this. Let's dive in. Now, we've been talking about virtual weddings. We've been talking about small weddings. We've been talking about all the different types of sort of alternative weddings you can have during COVID. Because, COVID is our reality right now and will be for sort of the immediate foreseeable future. By the way, if you haven't checked out those videos, you definitely should. And hit subscribe so you can get access to all the new ones. Now, with these different types of weddings that we've been talking about, at the center of everything really is just safety. Safety for yourselves, for your guests, and your loved ones, for the community, for the world even. And it's because we care, right? We care about that. You care about that. And so having, your wedding, if you're planning on doing it during COVID, needs to be safe. So how do you be safe, right? As time has, gone on and we've learned more about COVID, we know more now, right? We know more than we did back in May. We know more than we did back in March. And one thing we've all learned is that, outdoors is better than indoors. Because, there's air circulation and there's more space and it's less constricted and you can spread out, right? All really important things. So, great, right? Let's have an outdoor wedding. That sounds wonderful. Sounds simple. Yes and no. Outdoor weddings, regardless of COVID, come with their own set of logistics and planning. And it's really just important to keep that in mind as you're planning or thinking about, having your wedding during COVID. So here's the question. What do you need to keep in mind? And, it really comes down to sort of two main things, the weather and the season. Now, when you're indoors, when you have an indoor wedding, you don't really need to worry about either of those things, really. But when you're outdoors, those two things can control everything. And when I say everything, I really mean everything, because it's not just the sun and the wind and the rain and snow, right? It's that the sun means heat or humidity or both. It's that wind means maybe cold or dusty. It's that, rain means wetness, but also like muddy grounds and maybe slippery conditions. Snow can mean cold and wet and maybe potentially dangerous conditions. And what that means is that it affects everything else. So, whether you need to tent or not, whether you need to be concerned about bugs, what kind of food you should be thinking about serving, what kind of drinks you can and should serve, what kind of decor will work or will be maybe a disaster, whether you need umbrellas or heaters or a generator. How do you protect your musicians? And, what are you going to wear? And the list can just go on and on and on and on and on. And let's not forget for a moment here that there are also, special weather occurrences that can take place in different parts of the country and world, right? There are hurricanes and tsunamis and monsoons and tornadoes, which, you have no control over, which is kind of the funny, ironic thing is, outdoor weddings are controlled by the weather and the season, but you have no control over either. None. But that's what makes the outdoors, right? And it's part of what we love about it. Now, I could do, a whole series of videos on outdoor weddings, covering all, the intricacies of what to think about and what to plan, which, I might just do. I've done a lot of these. But I really, really today want to make sure we talk about outdoor weddings as they relate to COVID. Because we've just talked through how you need to take into account the weather and the season and all the many things it can affect. But this is how things are different with COVID. Okay, so normally, right, you'd get engaged, you'd pick a date, pick a season, plan your wedding, and then have your wedding. The end, yay, all happy. COVID has really disrupted that whole complete typical planning process, right? Which means that maybe you've postponed once or twice or 3 times. Maybe you had to cancel your wedding altogether. Maybe you've gotten engaged recently and you just haven't done anything because you're kind of scared to, which I don't blame you. Here's the thing. Here is the big thing, is that if you aren't going to wait to get married, and when I say wait, I mean you're not going to wait until there's a vaccine or a treatment, then you're having a COVID wedding. And if you're having a COVID wedding, outdoors is really going to be your safest option, no matter how big your wedding is. Which means that the season and the weather are going to play a huge, huge factor in when you're going to get married. And now you might be like, okay, I get it. But let's see if you've thought this like one step further. Here's what I really mean, okay? So if you've decided to get married now, and when I say now in this instance, I mean, in the next couple of months, maybe even in the next couple of weeks, you'll be at the end of summer and kind of leading into fall. Now, that could be great, given where you live. The weather could be fantastic, or it could be horrible. Or let's say you live somewhere where, winters are just bitter, bitter cold, and there is absolutely no way that you are having an outdoor wedding in the winter. Well, then you need to get married now, or soon, or you need to wait until next year, spring or summer, right? Now, if you've postponed, and you're getting married, you've decided, you're getting married on that date, no matter what, you have to think about the season you've now postponed too. And that could be wonderful, once again, weather-wise, it could be great, or it could be horrible for an outdoor wedding. Having an outdoor wedding is different. It just is. Because it's you have to think about, once again, the season and the weather. But having an outdoor wedding now is even more different. Because you're either getting married soon, or you've chosen some date in the future. But being outdoors may not be feasible or desirable, perhaps, given, the season and the weather in potentially either of those cases, depending on kind of where you fall. So you might have to rethink your plans. And you may need to rethink them now. Which is why I bring this up. Because we're still in the summer. Technically, right? We're headed towards the end of summer, but we're still in the summer. We're headed into fall. And while the summer and fall aren't necessarily the best time to get married everywhere, for many places, they're a great time to get married. Which means you may want to take advantage of this season, of the seasons we're in now and the next season coming up, instead of having to wait or shift, say, your wedding even farther out. Which means you really need to hop on it and start planning ASAP. And I know that's maybe not what you want to hear, but I want you to know this now so that you're not sort of surprised come 6 months later or 4 months later even. Okay? Now, obviously, it's important to take your location into account. But, with outdoor weddings being the safest and the best option, your season and your weather will really matter a lot. So just make sure you think about that as we are now headed into this second half of the year. Okay? All right, I want to wrap this video up with a question, and that's kind of a fun question. So tell me, where do you live and what's the best season where you live when you want to get married? Let me know in a comment below. And please, if you enjoyed this video, please like it. Give us some thumbs up. You can check out our other videos for even more wedding planning tips. And please hit subscribe so you can get access to all the new ones. And if you want help through the entire wedding planning process, check out my online course, Passport to Joy. You can find the links below. Because you deserve to enjoy your engagement, no matter what your budget is, and even in the middle of a pandemic. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye!